Hello everyone, welcome to AI Anytime channel. In this video, we are going to work on an experimentation with function call. So we're going to look at how we can make function calls using open source large language model. We are not going to rely on open AI or closed source models to do function calling. Now, function calling is not a new concept. It has been in trends for last few months where OpenAI started the function calling capability with their GPT 3.5, GPT 4 models. Now, function calling is extremely important when you have multiple features in your Gen AI powered system or the application that you are building. For example, if you want to connect with external tools, plugins, or some external APIs, how you can, write different functions. And that when you put a prompt, when the end user put a prompt in your system, how that can get automatically classified and invoke the respective function. And I think that is really important to build a production level Gen AI system, mainly when it comes to RAG or conversational interface where you have different data sources that you need to connect with. Uh, you can do calculations, you can do recommendations and things like that. And it is fairly easy to do function calling with OpenAI models or other closed source providers because they provide, this facility out of the box. But we'll see how we're going to leverage Mistral 7B in this video. So I'm going to use OpenHermes Mistral 7B LLM, and we'll write some code to see if we are able to do function calling. So I will write few functions that might be a dummy function, but the underlying concepts remain the same. You can use weather APIs, you can use traffic APIs, you can use external plugins or tools like Surf API or Tavelai and things like that. So let's jump in and see how we can perform function calling using open source LLMs. And if you look at here, I already have a few code snippets just to save some time because the model loading will take a bit of time. But I'll just explain that what I'm doing. Ignore this part of locale, which gives some UTF-8 error. So I just have been working with that. Now I'm on A100 GPU on Colab. Fortunately, right now I was able to connect with this runtime, which is difficult to get in Colab. It all redirects to V100. I have installed LangChain. I'm not using the new LangChain 0.1. I'm relying on the legacy version of LangChain, but you feel free to use the new version of LangChain as well. Few things, getting the parcel, I'll tell you what this does. I'm getting some utilities, typing, transformers, torch, because we're gonna work with open source LLMs. We have LangChain thingy over here, convert to OpenAI function. So LangChain provides a high level abstract class that helps you convert your function to an OpenAI function. And that is fantastic. I'll show you that what does basically does. And of course, not only a function, but you can have a high level class as well that you have created through Pydantic, for example. And if you want to convert that to OpenAI function, how can you do that? That's what we are trying to do over here. Then we have Pydantic to convert Pydantic to OpenAI function. The first was to convert a Python function to an OpenAI function. The next one is to convert a Pydantic class to OpenAI function. Then we have some validations, base model field validator. We're going to use Pydantic here to write our classes and then validate it. This is the model I'm going to use. I'll show you that large language model. Model here, let me just open that. Uh, it's by Technium Open Hermes 2.5 Mistral 7B, and you can see I'm relying on Mistral 7B. It's a startup in France called Mistral AI. They are doing a great job to strengthening the open source community. Now, you can see this is a model, more than 100,000 downloads last month, and I'm just going to use this large language model. I already have written a function that helps me get the model name, which is a string, and you can see the bit of validation. I'm using transformers pre-train to get the tokenizer and the same auto model for causal LM because we are using causal LM, which helps you generate tokens. Okay, it's not some mask language modeling, it's a bit different. So we want to rely on this class of transformers. And I'm getting the model and tokenizer. You can see this is the way we have loaded the model. We are saying tokenizer slash model, load model underscore model name, and we get the model over here. You can see it takes a bit of time and it gets it. Now I have just printed the model, which is a Mistral pipeline. You can see the entire very high level layers and things like that. Now we'll start writing the code, guys. So if you face any memory error, you can do a few things, like you can clear the cache and do those things, but I think it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a class here. So let me just write a class, and in this class I'm going to write book recommendation. Let me come a bit closer. Book recommendation. You can see I'm doing a base model. And so I'm going to write three functions. These are all Python functions. This might be dummy functions, but you can just connect your APIs as well if you have an external APIs with this. But let me first show you how this is going to work. Now, class book recommendation, and then passing the base model. And what I'm going to write next here is let's keep a doc string arguments, basically to just have an explanation. So I'm going to write provides book recommendation, provide book recommendations based on a specific or specified interest. This is what I'm going to write. Okay, this is my okay, and now I'm going to have an interest. You can see this is right. So let me make it a bit smaller. It's 175. Let's make it 150. You can now it's fine. Now we have an interest. I'm using Pydantic version 1. If you want to using V2, you have to bit up. You can make a bit of changes like field validators and things like that. Now interest, which is a string, and I'm saying okay, the field looks like, and I can just remove that. It's fine. Now in field, I have a description. That description says the interest to base recommendations on. No, I'll just make a bit of change over here so LLM can understand better. Question of user interest about a book. This is what I'm going to write over here. And the interest is fine. Now I'm going to have recommended book, which is nothing but the expected output I'm looking. So recommended book. And again, this is a, let's have a single, which is a string. So description book answers. I'll write answer. And this is a catch, guys. I think if you're working with the open source LLMs and if your function call is not working the way that you are expecting, then you have to do better descriptions on the, because it all happens on the prompt level, right? It's like it's happening some zero sort prompting and things like that. But OpenAI is far more capable. The GPT 3.5 or GPT 4, they are far more capable than some of the smaller open source LLMs. So if you're working with these open source LLMs for function calls, make sure that your descriptions are up to the mark. And if you see what I'm writing, answer should be answer to recommend a book. So I'm saying to model that your answer should to recommend a book. This is my recommended book, and now a recommended book is done. Now I'm gonna have a validator. So validator, and inside the validator, my validator is interest. So I'm gonna validate the interest, which is the prompt that user will put it, and validate not it's a decorator. So validator interest, and you can see this is how you can write your functions. So within that, I'm going to write functions. If you have your APIs thingy, if you're connecting with external sources, you're going to write here. So I'm going to write diff interest must not be empty. And you can see, so it's a class, it is a value. Let's call it, for you to understand better, it's a field or value. You can also call it a value. And then it says if not filled, and then interest must not be empty, and then return filled. So this is the first simple class that we have created for book recommendation, which looks at the interest of a user, that what kind of book that user is looking for, and then this will be passed to Mistral 7b, and then Mistral 7 will look at your prompts and then execute the right function. Now validator interest class filled, if not filled, raise value interest cannot be empty, return filled. So this is fine. Must might be too deterministic. Let's call it cannot be cannot be empty. Okay, now this class is fine. Now I'm going to copy this and I'm going to create three different classes over here quickly. And for the second, I'm going to call this not book recommendation, let's call it joke. So we're going to create a crack a joke or get a joke from Mistral 7b based on, so joke, and then it says get a joke. So I'm going to write here, so let's do that. So I'm going to write get a joke that includes the setup and punchline. This is what I'm going to write over here. Now in the interest, Now this should not be interest because we are writing setup and punchline. So this becomes setup and the next become a punchline. So let's do that. So I'm gonna write here punchline. Fantastic. Now you can see the description needs to be changed again. If you're not changing description, then that's a problem. So in the description, let's write question to set up a joke. Okay, so question to set up a joke, and then in description, uh, answer to resolve the joke. Answer to resolve the joke. And then I say this needs to be changed because now validator will change from interest to setup, because in the previous class we had interest. Now here we're going to have setup, and I'm going to say and let's do a bit of more changes over here. So I'm going to say is question ends with question mark. So the model, when model looks at it, it will definitely say, okay, that's the question that I'm getting. Now question mark and class failed, that looks fine. Now here I'll make a bit of change to do a bit of stripping. So if failed, excuse me, if failed, and then I'm gonna say if failed, because I'm looking at the question mark, so it should be failed -1 and not equals. Okay, and then let's do this. Okay, so this is a better way of getting, I don't need this dot. And now here I can say raise value error, interest cannot be empty, this is wrong. Let's say uh, badly formed question, and then you just return the field. Now this is fantastic. Now this is also done. So let's just run it. You can see setup. Now I'm just going to copy this again. Book recommendation, I'm going to write the third one, which can be your, like, let's have a music recommendation. And you can also connect with your internal RAG. So for example, if you have an internal RAG, which, like, you have a vector database, you have created a RAG pipeline, and you also want to rely on external data sources like some APIs, some plugins and tools, you can all bring it together in different classes and functions, and then you can use, I'll show you that what next we're going to do and how we're going to use Mistral 7b to do those function calls. Now in music recommendation, and rather than music, let's call it song. Okay, song recommendation, I'm going to write provide song recommendation. Let's change the book song recommendations based on a specified genre. So let's call it genre, because interest might not be that relevant. And now here in interest, I'm going to write genre, and here question to recommend a song, question to recommend a song, question to recommend a song. And in the recommended book, I'm going to write song here. So let's do that. So I'm going to write song, and then description, answer to recommend a song. So let's try it out. Now this interest becomes genre because I have changed that, and I'm going to write genre must not be empty. So we are just doing a bit of validation with Pydantic over here. Genre must not be empty, and then if not failed, I'm going to write genre cannot be empty, excuse me. Fantastic. And I think we are done with this. So let's get that here. Now, if you look at on top, we have a LangChain abstract class called where it is convert Pydantic to OpenAI function. So let's copy it here, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Because OpenAI has a defined schema. You have to it basically accept the function into a specific schema that OpenAI models like look at that schema and then execute the function. And that's what we're going to do it over here. So if you look at this, convert Pydantic to OpenAI function, and if you pass any one of it, so let's pass song recommendation here, and let's see if that able to convert the Pydantic to an OpenAI function schema. Fantastic, right? If you look at this, it gets you a name. Name is song recommendation. You have a description. If you have worked with OpenAI function calls, I have created a video that I will share the link in description. You can have a look at that. And this is the right schema for OpenAI models. Now, there should be a name of that function. So we are calling it song recommendation. Then you have description that's called provide song recommendations based on a specified genre. Parameter, which is an object, properties, genre description, type string, and then song. Answer to recommend a song, type string, and required is your genre and a song. Fantastic, right? So now you can try it out for others as well. Let's get that. And I'm gonna call this as probably book recommendation. Let's try it out. So book recommendation, yeah, and you can see the book recommendation. So in require, I'm also saying that I need the recommended book because I need the output, because a few times, sometimes you can't get the output as well, but this is what I need. Now I have created some gist. I'm just gonna use those gist. One is called, let me just go raw here and control A, control C. I'll explain that what I'm doing. Now this extract the function calls. If you look at what it does, it says extract function calls, get the completion. Completion.strip has a pattern where you can have multiple functions, and it uses the regular expression. If not match, return none. If multiple function. So basically, this is this has been taken from OpenHummus as well. They have given in their blog post. Now this basically extract the function calls. Okay, so let's run this. So I have run it, and I will take the now I'm gonna take, maybe I can write also, but I'm just going to save some time and I will explain the function. We're gonna write the completion function. So that is generate hummus, and this is the important part. So let me explain that. Now, if you look at this, what we are doing here, we are saying generate hummus. We are passing our prompt, passing the model, passing the tokenizer, and then we have some config that we can override. And we are saying in a function, that function name arguments, you can have an argument value can have n number of arguments, and arguments value pair. In the prompt, I'm saying you are a helpful assistant with the access of following function, and we are passing the functions. I can see it's in a dictionary. We are passing the function over here. It says, and we are just leveraging this convert pydantic to OpenAI function class. You can see it over here. Convert pydantic to OpenAI function, passing my joke, passing my book recommendation, and passing my song recommendation. If you have n numbers of function that you have created, and you can do that over here. And if you don't have a pydantic, but you have a regular Python function, then you have to use convert to OpenAI function to do that. Okay, pretty much self-explanatory. And I'm defining to use this function respond with multiple functions. I have some edge cases that I'm handling, and then I have some configs. So you can see temperature 0 0.2, top P, top K, max new tokens, and things like that. And then I'm just using model inputs, passing the tokenizer, getting the IDs. And yeah, so this is pretty much transformer thing. So I'm just gonna run this. So let's run it. And once you run it, we need one more inference function, and I'm just going to copy it from here where I'm going to pass my prompts. Okay, so let's do that. So let's copy it over here, time, and come, and let's paste that. Now, if you look at this, we are saying generation func, we are using partial. The function, this is coming from here. We have imported it somewhere over here. You can see we are getting it from function tool, import partial, and let's come down. We are saying these are my three prompts. Tell me a joke, song for inspiration, and recommend me a book on crime thriller. Now, these are like a bit static because we are not connecting with any external data sources, but you can have it dynamically as well. You just have to write that function. Okay. If you are using Pydantic, it's fine through a class. If you're just writing Python function, feel free to do that as well, and you can just call it same way. Now for prompt in prompts, completion functions, let's print it out and see what it does. Now once you do that, I'm expecting that I will get my output. You can see fantastic, right? I didn't get it for song, and we have to make some changes in the description, but I got it for name joke. You can see argument, it says setup, why don't scientists trust atoms. That's the setup, and it's punchline because they make up everything. So I joke function is working fine. Book recommendation, interest crime thriller. You can see I'm asking about a crime thriller. Recommend me a book on crime thriller, and it gives me the recommended book, The Silence of the Lambs, which is a crime thriller book, which is fantastic, right? You can see I'm on A100. It took around 5 seconds on average. Let's make a bit of change, guys. Here, tell me a joke, or tell me a funny joke. Let's make a bit of changes and see if this is working fine. But if it's not working, you have to make the changes on uh, the description, and also you have to look at how you can improve the prompt. But it certainly works. You can see it is going to work. If you make it even more better, it will work in a better way as well. I'm gonna write song for let me see what was the prompt or what is the description for that. I just want to check it out once. Song recommendation based on a specified genre. Okay, song recommendations. Perfect. On a genre. So I'm gonna say recommend me a romantic song. Let's see that. Okay, if it's able to get it. If not, that we're gonna improve that. Recommend me a book on. Recommend a book. Let me remove a bit, or I'm just gonna write a book on crime thriller. Or let's make it crime thriller. A book on personality development. And I want to see if it's able to retrieve and it's able to generate anything. Okay, so you can see that I at least joke I got the same joke and yeah, fantastic. So we have to see the song recommendation is not working, but the book recommendation definitely gives me a different answer. It says The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Let's see if that's a book. Okay, let me just have a look that on Google because I haven't read that. Yeah, you can see that's a book. The Power of Now. Okay, fantastic. So personality development, you can see it's getting it right. Joke is coming with the same joke because they make up everything. Why don't scientists trust atoms? But I'm a bit disappointed with the song. Maybe I'm not putting the right description and the prompt. Recommend me and let's see that once. Recommend me an inspiring song. And then I'll just have a look at my config. Use cache. Okay. Let's call it false. Let me call that false and make the temperature a bit higher. Run this. You can see the same answer, but now let's try it out once more. But now you would have got the idea that how you can do function calls. Even if I'm just doing cache, the song recommendation is not working, but the rest of the two works. We have to see how we can get the other outputs. But yeah, this is fantastic. Now, this is what I wanted to create, guys, in this video. How you can write your functions and how you can invoke that functions using an open source large language models based function calling ability. And I will give the code in the description, the Git through GitHub repository, and also I can give you a gist as well, not a lengthy code. And I hope now you understood how you can do function calling uh, using open source large language model. I can see on A100 around 5 to 6 seconds time, which is fantastic. Once we remove the cache, okay, it took at least double of time. Okay, but yeah, uh, let me try it out. Uh, tell me a vulgar joke. Vulgar joke. I want to see. Uh, I want to see one thing, which is if it has that. Uh, what I'm going to see here is that if it's able to deny the answer, and when I say vulgar or any explicit, you can see, wow, fantastic. Now, when we change, so right, you can see the output also we are getting. So now we started getting the output for all of the three guys, which is why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. The most used joke when it comes to a vulgar joke, right? That's fantastic. Song recommendation, you can see genre inspiration, and it says "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor. Is it a song? I mean, I don't know. Eye of the Tiger. Oh wow. Eye of the Tiger, that's a song you can see on here on YouTube, Spotify, and things like that. And book recommendation, Interest Technology recommended book The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton M. Christensen. Wow, fantastic. I loved this response this time. All of our functions are working. It's able to identify the prompt, classify it on prompt level, and then invoke the right function. Now imagine if you have your internal RAG, you have your external chat tools, plugins, you have different APIs, and you have written different functions based on the user's input. Let these handle. You don't have to do a prompt classifier. You have n number of samples and then you classify prompts using logistic regression or deep neural networks and things like that, right? Let these handle. And this is fantastic. I loved it. And let me know what you do with this if you are extending this. And the credit goes to OpenHarmos. I have taken a bit of code from OpenHarmos blog post or their GitHub, but I had made a few of changes on the things that I've written. But credit to them as well. Credit for creating this open harmless version of the Mistral model. And that's it, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like icon. And if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, please do subscribe the channel. If you have any thoughts, feedbacks, or any queries related to this or any other videos of mine, please comment that in the comment box. And you can also reach out to me through my social media channels. Please find those details on channel about us and the channel banner. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.